The Supreme Court of the United States is the political arm of Donald Trump. They are not going to save democracy because they believe Donald Trump, the convicted felon, is right, because it is so obvious that racism and cruelty goes all the way to the top. We have a new decision by the Supreme Court where, breaking news from the New York Times, the Supreme Court lifted restrictions on ICE agents in Los Angeles, allowing them to make indiscriminate stops based on factors like ethnicity. This is racial profiling.
Let me ask you this, Pumps. You're an attorney. This is the same political party and the same court that said that universities couldn't make exceptions for marginalized groups that have had a more difficult time getting into college, like the African American population or the Latino population. They said no, unconstitutional. But now they're saying racial profiling, if you're Latino, speak language, that type of racial profiling to incarcerate, not advance, but to oppress, not advance, that type is okay as long as we're oppressing minorities. This Supreme Court is for it.
You nailed it. That's absolutely the same court, and it's disgusting. And then you have Amy Coney Barrett, the handmaid to end the earth handmaid. She is on Fox News, which I don't find that at all surprising. She's on Fox News, and she's talking about, oh, the Supreme Court's not political. We're not political. Bullshit. You are taking down democracy, and you seem to like it. Nothing illustrates that more than this video about the 22nd Amendment and a third term for Donald Trump.
Right. And the 22nd Amendment says you can only run for office for 2 terms.
True.
You think that that's cut and dry?
Well, that's what the amendment says, right? After FDR had 4 terms, that's what that amendment says.
Okay, here's my issue with her in this interview. She does say, as Pump said, about the Supreme Court not being political. And she chose to go onto an entertainment network that in the court system that she is at the top of, found that news network liable to the tune of $1 billion for lying. And I guess the MAGA base is so stupid that she can go on there and say that the Supreme Court isn't political when she goes to the most politicized propaganda institution that this country has, which is Fox News, which is ruined and brainwashed so many people. They've done studies about all of these boomers that used to, before Fox News, they would retire and they were happy spending time with their grandkids. Now they're over there tapping the bane to Jesse Waters, madder than a hornet, in their gated communities or in the assisted living center, thinking that somebody's going to come kill them, mainly an immigrant. The Supreme Court, and please, I read an article about this emergency docket. And that Donald Trump is 17-0 in this emergency docket. I'm not a lawyer. And so for myself and the layman listeners, what is an emergency docket? And what about this 17-0 run that he's on?
Well, the 17-0 run is unheard of. And the emergency powers granted by the court are when irreparable harm is present. They are to be used extremely sparingly because the burden is so high to prove that the emergency actually exists. And Donald Trump uses it like a vending machine.
Let me ask you this. Is the Supreme Court, do they have to agree to that? And are they abusing it as well to benefit this dictator?
Jennifer, the justice of the Supreme Court in charge of extending emergency administrative powers is none other than the Chief Justice, John Roberts. And we can all discuss how he has allowed conflict after conflict and bad decision and immunity on that court. Under him, the Supreme Court has gone to one of these most revered parts of the U.S. government. To nobody has any confidence in them. It is absolutely, as an attorney that revered the Supreme Court and studied law, it is sickening. It breaks my heart. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but it does.
No, all this news broke yesterday, listener, and Pumps and I, we talk on the phone. We're not sitting next to each other. And I told her, and I'm sure you all feel this too, there are certain days where we're all up against all this stuff that Trump's doing. And you can be like, oh my God, he's such a nut. You kind of go on with your life. But the Supreme Court constantly abdicating their co-equal, separate, private branch of government. Private wasn't the right word, but abdicating that to him and enriching that guy, sometimes when I see that, when I see the collapse of the judiciary, that really devastates me. That devastates me because if they started ruling against him, he would release a mob to go kill them just like he wanted them to go kill Mike Pence. Like they're giving up everything for the guy that has to sit there and go, if you're not nice to me, I'm going to unleash my, criminals on you, and then I'm going to pardon them. And the fact they're giving a guy that pardoned criminals that were found guilty through the court system that they're supposed to revere, it's just such moral collapse.
It's such moral collapse. And I think Rolling Stone put it perfectly when their commentary said the Supreme Court is Trump's partner in crimes against America. And that is so true. Let's go back. Jenny Thomas was a planner of January 6th. Her husband sits on cases. He never declared a conflict of interest. We have Alito, whose wife is doing the crazy ass flags, super MAGA. This is devastating. This is devastating for this country because in my heart, I thought, the courts are going to save us, and the lower courts have. They have tried to stop Donald Trump. But by allowing these cases to come and the decisions they're making, you talked about the administrative powers. This is a decision. They researched it and they said, we're in. It has never been more important to get accurate, factual news because we are in a sea of misinformation, and even news sources that we used to trust are no longer giving us the unvarnished facts. That's why Jennifer and I at IHIP News use ground news every day. Let me give you an example of what's going out there in the wild west of news. On the left, inflation and jobless claims are rising. Economists blame Trump's tariffs. Then you have inflation remains below 3% for the 7th straight month in August. That's from the right. Ground news is the Spotify of news. It gets everything together and then tells you what's the degree of factuality, who owns the publication, and you can make the best decisions when you are seeing accurate information, and depending on ground news is the way to do it. So please go to groundnews.com/IHIP to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that we use every day. They're subscriber funded and female founded. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work. That's Ground, GROUND news.com/IHIP. And there will be a physical link in the show notes. Just click on it. It'll take you right where you need to go. And so lower federal courts, they are completely flummoxed on what are we supposed to do. So we have a report that came out a week or so ago. And of course, it was based on conditions of anonymity. But basically, federal judges are fed up with the Supreme Court because they are not following the law that they have typically followed. And it continues to be one law. I mean, they talked about, we're going to look at birthright citizenship. I mean, these people have no bottom. They have no bottom. We have 3 justices out of 6 that are willing to follow the law, that are willing to enforce the Constitution. And the dissent of Justice Sotomayor regarding the ICE agents' racial profiling said, speaking powerfully, we should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job. And she is exactly right. That is what they are doing. If you speak Spanish, or now it's Korean in Georgia, if you are not white and you are not Christian, we're going to unleash the mob of ICE on you. It is sickening.
So, there was the South Park meme episode where it has the ICE agents and they have a card that they can hold up to people's faces, satire. And it has super white, kind of peachy, and then kind of a dark white. And then it goes into the melanin. And it's all over the internet right now that South Park put that out there. And the Supreme Court just made it law.
Yeah.
That's how, it's, this Supreme Court is so unbelievable. And I think it's important that we have to look at the systems that led us to this. A lot of the justices on this court were minority appointed. Roberts was appointed by George W. Bush, who did not win the popular vote. He is the founder of the Citizens United and really unlocking a lot of this fascism. 3 of Trump's appointments were done during his first term, which he was a minority voted president. So you don't ever have the will of the people. And the same kind of, for me personally, kind of goes for the Senate. You have this government that enables minority rule. Like, how is it that in Oklahoma, we have 2 senators that are complete dipshit Christian nationalists in a population of 3.5 million, and we're a welfare state? And then you go to California, pumps, and they have, tens of millions of people. They're a donor state, and they have the 2 senators. And we have this minority rule in this country that has been enabled decade after decade, because nobody will ever take a look at saying, okay, the Constitution was written 250 years ago. We need to amend this. Globalization has happened. And we have these fucking freaks. Because Clarence Thomas, you know what he would vote for, pumps? He would probably vote to end interracial marriage.
He's basically said that in the Dobbs decision.
Yeah.
He is married to a white woman, but against interracial marriage. It's disgusting. And another person that has a lot of accountability in this is Mitch McConnell. He stalled Obama's appointments. He did not vote to impeach Trump. It is just...
I want to say something too about that. That's a prime example of how Democrats failed to fight. When Obama was president and Mitch McConnell pulled this maneuver, it should have been a full court press organizing protests at the courts, at Congress, and just kept applying pressure until Mitch capitulated. It should have, but it's just like we just assume, oh, it'll be okay. We follow the law. If the roles were reversed, they would have pulled every maneuver to make sure it was set. And that's exactly what Mitch did with Amy Coney Barrett. And the Democrats it's just always this impotent fight.
Yeah.
Impotent fight for mediocrity is what I feel like we're doing here.
It's just a rule of strongly worded letters. That's what I feel like. And then you reference the emergency powers, and Justice Roberts yesterday issued an administrative stay on an order that disallowed Trump to fire an FTC member. The Supreme Court allows Trump to remove an FTC member for now, a temporary win for the White House as it seeks control over independent government agencies. This goes against a law on the books since 1935. And now they're going to brief it, but he installed an emergency. Why was that an emergency? What was the irreparable harm? It makes me sick. It is such an abuse of the legal system. And it's hard to wrap your head around that when the people at the top are the ones abusing it.
This takes me back to that clip with Amy Coney Barrett. The Supreme Court is priming the public right now for long-term, decades conservative rule. Religious Christian nationalism. That's their dream. All of these judges were groomed by the Heritage Foundation and others to specifically start enacting this. And now they have their imperfect vessel. And she said that not very, I thought her response was rather ambiguous.
Yes.
That's what the amendment says, but we can alter it if we want to. And they have no intentions. The court, Congress, Trump, nobody has any intentions of ever handing this back over to the people, the country. They have no intentions of doing that.
I fear you're exactly right. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we have a book. It's the It Book of the Fall, Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. You can get it anywhere, and it's also available recorded audio book.